composed by Maharishi Devendranath Thakur. He took excerpts from the Upanishads. It's a composition, excuse me, sung in the Brahma Samaj. Hare Bol Hare Bol Shrotra Manaso Manoyadvacha Madhiketu Shrotrasya Shrotra Manaso Manoyadvacha Madhiketu Purnasya Purna Param Manaso Moyadvacha Madhiketu Shrotra Manaso Manoyadvacha Madhiketu Purnasya Purnam Param This one is a composition of Kamalakanta Bhattacharya. Janunare mon Ramakrishna Tadike bola meno Janunare mon পরমকার আদিকে ভুলে মেন মেঘের বরণ করিয়ে ধারণ কখনো কখনো পুরুষ হয় মেঘের বরণ করিয়ে ধারণ কখনো কখনো পুরুষ হয় জানো না রে মন পরমকার আদিকে ভুলে মেন লোকেশে পরে ধরে আসে দিন যত নয় করুণ সভায় লোকেশে পরে ধরে আসে দিন যত নয় করুণ সভায় আপনার মায়ায় আপনি বাধা যতনে ভবের যাতনা সব জানো না রে মন পরমকার আদিকে ভুলে মেন মেঘের বরণ করিয়ে ধারণ কখনো কখনো পুরুষ হয় জানো না রে মন পরমকার আদিকে ভুলে মেন কভু বাঁধে ধরা কভু বাঁধে ছোড়া কভু বাঁধে ধরা কভু বাঁধে ছোড়া ময়ূর পুচ্ছ সুবিকতায় কখনো পার্বতী কখনো শ্রীমতী কখনো পার্বতী কখনো শ্রীমতী কখনো রামের জানকী হয় জানো না রে মন পরমকার আদিকে ভুলে মেন ত্রিগুণ ধারণ করিয়ে কখনো হরয়ে সৃজন পালনলয় ত্রিগুণ ধারণ করিয়ে কখনো হরয়ে সৃজন পালনলয় আপনার মায়ায় আপনি বাধা আপন মায়ায় আপনি বাধা কখনো জগের যাতনা সব আপনার মায়ায় আপনি বাধা যতনে ভবের যাতনা সয় জানো না রে মন পরমকার আদিকে ভুলে মেন লোকেশে পরে ধরে আসে গুরু যত নয় করে সভায় লোকেশে পরে ধরে আসে গুরু যত নয় করে সভায় প্রভু ব্রজপুরে আসে বাজাইয়া বাসিয়ে ভুজঙ্গমার মন হরিয়ে লয় জানো না রে জানো না রে মন পরমকার আদিকে ভুলে মেন যেভাবে যে জনা হরয়ে ভজনা সেভাবে তার মানুষে রয় যেভাবে যে জনা হরয়ে ভজনা সেভাবে তার মানুষে কমলাকান্তের হৃদয় কমলাকান্তের হৃদি সরোবরে কমলে কামিনী উদয় হয় জানো না রে মন মরম কাহার কালিকে বলে মেন জানো না রে মেঘের বরণ করিয়ে ধারণ কখনো কখনো পুরুষ হয় জানো না রে মন পরম কাহার কালিকে বলে মেন যেভাবে যে জনা করে ভজনা সেইভাবে তার মানুষের রয় যেভাবে যে জনা করে ভজনা সেইভাবে তার মানুষের রয় কমলাকান্তের হৃদি সরোবরে কমলাকান্তের হৃদি সরোবরে কমলে কামিনী উদয় হয় জানো না রে মন পরম কাহার কালিকে বলে মেন মেঘের বরণ করিয়ে ধারণ কখনো কখনো পুরুষ হয় জানো না রে মন পরম কাহার কালিকে বলে মেন Last one is a composition of Trailokyanath Sanyal, and this describes Sri Ramakrishna to a T. I think Ramchandra Datta built upon it to say that he steals your bhavas and makes his songs. This one is it. চিদাকাশে হলো পূর্ণ চন্দ্রোদয় হে চিদাকাশে হলো পূর্ণ চন্দ্রোদয় হে জয়নাথ প্রাণনাথ অপরূপময় চিদাকাশে হলো পূর্ণ প্রেম চন্দ্রোদয় হে জয়নাথ প্রাণনাথ অপরূপময় জয় দয়াময় জয় দয়াময় জয় দয়াময় চিদাকাশে হলো পূর্ণ প্রেম চন্দ্রোদয় হে জয়নাথ প্রাণনাথ অপরূপময় হে চারিদিকে ঝলমল করে ভক্ত গ্রহধন চারিদিকে ঝলমল করে ভক্ত গ্রহধন ভক্ত আজে ভক্ত চিররসময় হে চিদাকাশে হলো পূর্ণ প্রেম চন্দ্রোদয় হে জয়নাথ প্রাণনাথ অপরূপময় হে স্বর্গে আরো খুলে আনন্দ লহরে তুলি স্বর্গে দুয়ারো খুলে আনন্দ লহরে তুলি নববিধান বসন সুমিরন গয়ে স্বর্গে দুয়ারো খুলে আনন্দ লহরে তুলি নববিধান বসন সুমিরন গয়ে উঠে তাহে মন্দ মন্দ লীলার সুপ্রেম গন্ধ উঠে তাহে মন্দ মন্দ লীলার সুপ্রেম গন্ধ গ্রামে যোগী বৃন্দ জগা বন্দে মত হয়ে চিদাকাশে হলো পূর্ণ প্রেম চন্দ্র জয়নাথ প্রাণনাথ ময় ভব সিন্ধু জলে বিধান কমলে ভব সিন্ধু জলে বিধান কমলে আনন্দময় বিরাজে ভব সিন্ধু জলে বিধান কমলে আনন্দময় বিরাজে আবেশেরাকুল ভক্তয়ে কুল আবেশেরাকুল ভক্তয়ে কুল বিহে সুধা তারি মাঝে দেখো দেখো মায়ের প্রসন্ন বদন চিত্ত বিনোদন ভুবন মোহন দেখো দেখো মায়ের প্রসন্ন বদন চিত্ত বিনোদন ভুবন মোহন পদতলে দলে দলে সাধুগণ পদতলে দলে দলে সাধুগণ নাচে গায়ে গয়ে মরণ শিবায় অপরুত আহামরে জুড়াইল প্রাণ দর্শন করে শিবায় অপরূপ আহামরে মরে জুড়াইল প্রাণ দর্শন প্রেমদাসে বলে সবে পায়ে ধরে প্রেমদাসে বলে প্রেমদাসে বলে সবে পায়ে ধরে গাও ভাই মায়ের জয় গাও ভাই জয় দয়াময় জয় দয়াময় জয় দয়াময় চিদাকাশ হলো পূর্ণ প্রেম চন্দ্রোদয় জয় চিদাকাশে হলো পূর্ণ প্রেম চন্দ্রোদয় জয়নাথ প্রাণনাথ অপরময় চিদাকাশে হলো পূর্ণ চন্দ্রোদয়।
Good morning, everyone. This is a special day today, Rakhi Purnima, the day when brothers and sisters, they kind of pledge their loyalty and love to each other And traditionally, we observe this as the birthday of Swami Niranjanananda. Some of the direct disciples, I don't think we really know exactly when they were born. I think he may be one of those cases, but either yesterday or today, we also observed his birthday, one of the direct disciples of Ramakrishna. I wanted to start with a little bit of a review of what we talked about last night. The topic of this retreat is practical hints on meditation. And I started out with this idea that we have different ways to approach meditation. One is simply from the point of view of mental exercise, some attempt to concentrate the mind. This can be done without any interest in metaphysics or religion or anything, that certain type of peace will come, concentration, if we learn how to control the mind. This is how meditation was introduced in this country by transcendental meditation. That it increases alpha waves, that it'll give you better sleep, you'll have better concentration. And they didn't try to tie it into anything deeper than that. And even later attempts as a mindfulness meditation and vipassana, they don't need to emphasize too much of metaphysics, that we simply a very straightforward thing. We're observing the mind, we're watching the breath, something like that. This type of meditation is very, very helpful for many people. But if we're doing it really with some deeper spiritual motive, that we want to have some God realization, we have some understanding that meditation can be the key, that when we go deep within, that we're reaching a different metaphysical realm, that we're entering into the realm of the divine. If we have some idea, then like that, then our meditation changes. It's not simply some mental exercise. It becomes some type of rendezvous with the divine, if we want to be romantic about the whole thing. That this is our opportunity to let this bird out of the cage, the bird of the soul, and fly through the sky and reach the upper limits. And we can be very poetic about it if we like. But the point is that, for me at least, when we have that type of attitude, that it gives some special element to meditation. Everything that I spoke about last night and that I'll talk about today, these are all things that I personally find helpful. This is why I am emphasizing these things, that it just gives a different way of looking at it. It's not necessarily something that has to fit in with some metaphysical system or anything. We may have different ways of understanding things. Last night I talked about two different ways of looking at the mind. That one is that the mind is an instrument. It belongs to nature. It's part of Prakriti. That we simply get this. The mind gets reflected. Oh, hello. Okay. Pest control. Yes. Very good. That looking at it from the Sankhya point of view, that now we see the mind, we want to purify the instrument of the mind. We want to make it calm and quiet so that we get a perfect reflection. So this is one, we can say, metaphysical model. And I emphasized last night that these are attitudes of the mind, that there's a big difference between the way philosophers approach philosophy and the way the great saints approach philosophy. Say Ramakrishna, his approach was completely different. That everything was a path, an attitude. Everything was judged by how well it can take us higher in spiritual life. Not so much the way logicians and the philosophers will judge things. So the followers of Shankaracharya, Ramanuja, Madhva, they'll all argue among themselves which one is the correct and proper interpretation of scripture and everything. For Sri Ramakrishna, it had nothing to do with that. Truth is beyond all of these things. Truth is not a question of logic or anything like that. that we want to find something that gives us a framework, we can say, so that when we sit for meditation, it'll perfectly align with our spiritual attitude. If we're devotional, then we can think that indwelling presence of God is there. If we're more philosophical, we can think this pure consciousness is underlying everything. So it gives a certain context, and it becomes something that I think is very helpful in meditation. So there are many different attitudes that we can take. We can even feel when we sit for meditation that who is observing this meditation? God. Yes, we can feel, we have this concept of the Antaryamin. See, when we talk about the indwelling witness, the Sakshin, that we have two ways of looking at it. I am that. It's Kutastha. We talked about that last night. I am that in reality, that I am the witness of everything. The other, if I think I am the devotee, then dwelling within is the Antaryamin, Ishvara, in the form of the inner guide, inner controller, listening to our prayer, watching our meditation. We can feel that now the object of our meditation is also the one observing the meditation, God dwelling within. So these conflicting ideas for the philosopher. Is it am I the witness or is God the witness? For the devotee, we don't bother with these questions. Which one suits us, and what is our feeling at the time? We can have different attitudes at different times. Thakur often quotes this very famous verse attributed to Hanuman, where Hanuman is asked by Rama, "How do you look upon me?" And he says, "It depends." He says, when I feel more identified with his body, then I think that you're the master and I'm the servant. He says, when I feel that I'm a jivatman, I'm an individual soul, then you're the whole and I'm a part of you. And he says, sometimes if I feel that I'm the self, the Atman, then you and I are one and the same. And then he says that this is my final opinion on the whole matter. So Sri Ramakrishna, he also says, yes, these are all true, but not, he doesn't even like to call it true in that sense. These are all absolutely authentic, legitimate attitudes that we can take at the time of meditation or in our spiritual life, depending on what appeals to us. And so he is very practical about all of these things. In fact, philosophically, we can say that he liked this idea, everything merges in oneness. Practically, he liked this idea of duality in terms of spiritual practice. So this is all a question of what will work for us, and to put it into a context, and to make meditation more than just a mental exercise. So this is what I was really trying to emphasize last night, that even analyzing this process of meditation will allow us to understand what is the relationship between the higher self and this apparent self, what is the relationship between God, and then the relationship between consciousness and mind. That all of these things will become clear to us when we analyze what is happening at the time of meditation. So this raises, for me, raises meditation from a type of mental exercise to a real spiritual, devotional type of practice that gives us some indication of how, through this practice of meditation, we can actually come into contact with the divine, into a state of union, and actually have some type of realization. Even the Raja Yoga is a little mechanical. If we say, I simply want to stop all of the vrittis of the mind, a little bit mechanical. There's a devotional point of view. It says, no, I want to dive deep in that ocean of consciousness, gather all the gems at the bottom. I want to fly through the sky. I want to attain that state of oneness. So it gives an incentive for us to meditate. We feel that this is a great privilege to meditate. Otherwise, it becomes just kind of a chore or something that we feel obligated to do. So this is something that is a very preliminary type of a hint, first hint for meditation. Otherwise, all of the other things are helpful. We'll find so many other things that are helpful in meditation, but to change the focus. So I gave a lot of emphasis to this last night. I don't want to belabor the point too much, but so this was that almost metaphysical side of meditation, that we're entering into some divine realm when we sit for meditation, that can release this bondage of the soul from this ego and this body idea and all of that. Now, when we talked about last night, this idea of diving down beneath the surface, the surface of the ocean is the mind level. We go a little bit deeper, and we get to the feeling level, emotional level, non-cognitive level, to the deeper state of meditation. Meditation has more to do with feeling than it has to do with thinking. We use the mind, of course. Thinking, mind is being used now more for concentration, but there has to be an emotional level to it. There has to be some feeling to all of this. So we go from this cognitive level to this emotional level, and we're trying to go deeper and deeper till we feel somehow the individual mind merging in the cosmic mind. That means the individual soul reaching that level of flying in this akasha, it's the divine space, something like that. Now, what we often find, and this goes back to another song that Ramakrishna used to sing, that when we go beneath the surface of the mind, we're diving into the ocean, that we find that there are sharks and alligators there. Now, this brings us to main topic this morning, is the psychological aspect of meditation. When we begin to meditate, very often we'll observe the mind, not just that the mind is restless. We know that. But why is it restless, and what are the things that are coming up? What are the things that are coming up to the surface of the mind? And we'll find that, especially at the beginning of meditation, that certain things will come up. Certain things will come up that are surprising to us. How did I didn't know I had that type of emotion, that for no reason at all I find myself being angry, that I remember that somebody said something, somebody did something, that I'll think of somebody else, that I have some jealousy or envy for. All sorts of things will come up, and some negative things, some old wounds will be reopened. All things can happen because now when we go down, we're opening up the mind a little bit, so these things that have been buried in our memory, the subconscious mind or unconscious mind, somehow they'll come to the surface. So question is that what do we do with these things? The power of the mind to concentrate and simply say, no, I won't think of those things, is extremely limited. We would think that just willpower, I won't allow the mind to think about these things, that we should be able to control the mind, but we find that we can't. That because the problem is that it's the mind itself trying to control the mind. This is the main difficulty. The upper mind, lower mind, however we understand it. So we have to somehow deal with some of these issues and to find out what is underlying everything. Every thought that comes up at the time of meditation, it's coming from somewhere. Now, we may not understand exactly how the mind works, that where do these thoughts lie? We have this concept of this causal body in Vedantas, karana sharira, that things are hidden there. We have different psychological teachings about Freud and Jung and everything, subconscious, unconscious mind, all of these things. But we know from experience that everything we do, everything we hear, the whole lifetime, remains with us either as memory or as character, the formation of character. So now we're getting to what we call this concept of samskara. Samskara. Samskara, if we analyze the term itself, it has something to do with almost sculpting, or almost chiseling. Samskrita is something, say this language, Sanskrit language. It's something that's beautiful, it's been formed. Prakrit language is something that grew naturally, just like an untended garden. The Sanskrit has been just nicely formed and chiseled. So these samskaras, even there's another meaning of samskara. These are all rites of passage that are meant to purify us and to make us grow in the proper way and everything. So this idea of samskara is that the mind, and again, this is Sankhya way of looking at it. Mind is like a ball of wax, almost. And all of these experiences will leave a little bit of a mark, a little bit of a line, something like that. It's very similar to the corresponding physiological phenomenon of creating different synaptic routes that the mind will take. So that we automatically think in a certain way. Automatically, say a great athlete that is a little basketball player. They'll shoot free throws, hundreds and hundreds a day, and they'll get some type of memory, muscle memory. So the things happen automatically. So most of the things that we do, the way we think, the way we act, the way we react, are mostly automatic and based on our personality, based on our past experiences, based on what we bring into this world. We all come into this world with certain tendencies, and we look at little children that one will be very calm and quiet, one will be a terror. Yes, screaming and yelling and everything. So we don't come into this world with a blank slate. This was an idea, this tabula rasa, this, from the Greek philosophers. We come with a blank slate. The Vedanta says no, that we come in with these samskaras from the previous lifetimes and different tendencies and all of that. So from our very childhood, we have these different tendencies, but what's more important is what we learn when we're young. And this is how we really form these qualities that will last us a life. This is why the education of children is so important. That they say we form our character, almost all of our character, in the first 5 years or so of life. So we have this idea that underlying everything are these samskaras, these personality traits, and some of them are positive and some of them are negative, and most of them are a combination. We can look at them in terms of the gunas if we want. They can be very sattvic things, they can be very rajasic, that we're restless, ambitious, all of that, or they can be tamasic, that we're a little bit lazy, that we don't have enthusiasm for things. People will have these different tendencies. So these are called samskaras, and when these samskaras become very strong, and when they manifest as desires, we call these vasanas. So these vasanas will be some very strong type of desire that we have for different types of enjoyment, for different types of experience, all of these things. And these are the things that disturb the mind at the time of meditation. Every thought that comes up has behind it a samskara and a vasana. So why do we think about things in meditation? Because there's some hidden desire to think about them, and there's some pleasure that we get. Now, this is a very odd thing, that we think sitting for meditation, why will I want to get angry? Who wants to be angry at the time of meditation? And yet, There's a little funny type of pleasure that comes from remembering when somebody did something that they shouldn't have done, and how angry we are, and could be years ago. Somehow we remember it, and we think how right we were and how wrong they were, and what we could have said to them or what we did. A little bit of pleasure, funny type. Otherwise, we won't think about it. This is the way the mind works, that there won't be any incentive for the mind to think about these things unless there's something that we get out of it. It may be perverse. It may be something that we know is not very helpful for us. But anyhow, so we start to analyze, and we see that this is the way the mind works, that every thought, everything that crops up in the mind, represents a desire of some type or other. And if we can somehow lessen the effect of these samskaras or change these samskaras, that we become free from them, because there's a certain bondage that we have to our own personality. There's a whole section in Gita which deals with this, that everyone follows their own nature, that Nigra kim karisati, what can even restraint do? See, Krishna is saying that you think just by self-control of the mind you can deal with all of these things. No, that we have to get to the root of these things. We have to somehow create new samskaras, or convert the other ones, or utilize the other ones somehow, if we want to attain some freedom from these things. So we're all slaves to our personality. This is what it boils down to, a certain extent, not 100%. If it were 100%, then forget about any change in spiritual life. Forget about any self-development or transformation of character or anything. We have to believe that we have a certain amount of freedom. This freedom to fight this natural tendency of the mind. As Swamiji says, these things are natural, but spiritual life means fighting nature. Fighting nature, the tendency of the mind to go for easy, simple, enjoyable things and not go for anything higher. We have to fight that type of tendency. So this is what we're dealing with now. That we'll find that these things will come up in his mind. These are old things, and we'll wonder where they came from and why at the time of meditation did they come up. So because in our daily life, we're not giving them scope to come up. It's just why in dreams, these things will come up in dreams, transformed somehow, because that's their entranceway. So in meditation, somehow, because we're trying to shut out the outer world, sometimes because we're trying to restrict it to certain thoughts, we're leaving a little crack for these things to come up and disturb the mind. And this becomes one of the major problems in meditation. It's not always negative things. It can be the enjoyable things. Also, we start to remember nice old experiences that we had. And we realize a very interesting thing, that re-experiencing or remembering some very nice experience that we once had is also a type of sense pleasure. And sometimes better. Sometimes better. We remember lying on the beach in the sun, how wonderful pleasurable it was. And we do it in our meditation, and we don't have to bother about the mosquitoes and the sand and all of the sunburn, all of those. We can just remember the good parts. Yeah. So we can have a whole meditation where we do that. And it's not real meditation, where we're just remembering some very nice things, and then we find the whole time is gone. We wasted the whole. So it's not always negative things that come. So and we start to understand that one of the reasons why we have trouble concentrating the mind on the object of meditation is that the mind is drawn more towards these other things. Sometimes, as I say, in a perverse way, sometimes in a positive way. If we wanted to really be serious about meditation, and we want to observe the mind and see how these obstacles come and do something about it, then it's good to observe the mind. Now, when we talk about observing the mind, generally we're talking about be the witness. Now I'm talking about be a psychologist, a little bit. When these things come up, try to analyze why did these things come up, and what can I do about it. Now the danger is we don't want to make our meditation period just self-analysis the whole time. Then we're just building up the ego again. We want to go, but to a certain extent, if we can analyze these things, then we can know how to deal with them. Now, one very interesting fact is that very often these problems can be solved not on the mental plane, but by doing something about it. We find that we have some deep resentment towards somebody, that we had a misunderstanding, something like that. What's the best thing to do? Clear it up. Talk to that person. Huh? Get rid of it. Yeah.
Which one is more powerful? Repetition of the God's name or meditation inside the mind?
Do them together. Don't look at that as two separate
I can
things.
say Krishna, 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 or which God I my favorite.
This is,
I can
yes,
continuously repeat
Yeah.
in my mind.
yes,
Or I can do my breathing exercise
yeah.
and do the meditation.
Anyhow, this is a little off the point.
Oh,
Yeah. So, where was I?
Go and find it out.
But yeah, do something about it. Yes, do something about it. Sometimes I find that little things weigh on the mind. That the correspondence, I've been meaning to write to somebody for a long time. I'll sit for meditation and it'll just be pinching me a little bit the whole time. And go and sit down and send the email. Apologize to somebody. Sometimes you want to clear up the clutter of the mind. Go and clear up the clutter on your desk. It does help. This is the whole point why I'm saying these things. I hope that they'll be helpful. Yeah. So this is it's a very practical thing that we can do. And not everything is like that, of course. Now, there are other things that will come up, and we can just recognize things and we can let them go. Some things will come up into the mind, and we can tell ourselves that this is the old mind. This is not me. This is how I used to think, that something will come up that I'd like to get back at this person. And I say, no, I'm not that type. I'm not a vindictive person anymore. So just let it go. Let it come to the surface and leave that way. Holy Mother was once asked, her main attendant was Rasbihari Maharaj, Swami Rupanandi. He said to her mother, why at the time of the meditation, all these little desires crop up in the mind, come up to the surface of the mind? She said, very good. Let them come up and let them leave. Watch them, analyze. Do you really still have the desire? No, this is some old thing. And then you're free. Then just let it go. A very interesting way of looking at the whole thing. Some things that will come up into the mind are natural desires that belong to everybody as a human being. This is where I came up with this term, Darwinian samskaras. Yeah, Darwinian samskaras. We belong to the animal kingdom. So all of these passions, lust, anger, greed, all of these things are hardwired into the animal kingdom. We're part of this animal kingdom for survival of the fittest, if we want to look at it from that point of view. Now, the advantage to looking at things this way is that it removes guilt. We don't think, oh, why do I have these ideas, lustful ideas, and anger and things, and why I want to compete against other people. If we understand that we belong to the animal kingdom, that if we didn't have these things built in, or any animal didn't have them, that species doesn't exist, doesn't survive. Survival of the fittest, this type of idea. So these are different ways of dealing with these different types of samskaras. Now, there's a psychological insight that we get from the Bhagavad Gita, which is almost 100% counterintuitive. Counterintuitive. We would normally think that these ideas that come into the mind, if they're caused by underlying desires, that we have to get rid of the desires. We have to get to the root of things if we want to be free from these things. Now, this Gita, the very famous section, I think 3 different verses from chapter 2, from this Tita Prajna section, very famous. You'll hear them quoted all of the time. That dhyayato visyam pumsa. If we let the mind dwell on something, we allow the mind to dwell on something. We sit in meditation, and some idea comes into the mind. We don't simply dismiss it. We play with it. We let the mind dwell on it. Some object of enjoyment or something that we start to think about. Some new car we want to buy, some vacation we want to take, something like that. Anything that will be temptation for attachment. So if we let the mind dwell on that, then some desire will come, some attachment will come, and ultimately, if we feel that we are unable to achieve that, because they're usually things that we'll never be able to fully achieve, then some type of anger comes, and then when anger comes, then we completely lose ourselves. Anger, see, Ramakrishna, he talks about lust and greed very often, but for me, anger is the most destructive emotion. Most destructive emotion. And hatred. Hatred, of course, is anger extended over a long period. Yeah. Most destructive, especially for meditation. If we're angry, we should not even try to sit for meditation, because the mind will it'll increase it. Meditation increases things. With the love of God, it increases. Anger, it increases also. So we have to be very cautious about all these things. But again, we can understand that these are natural things. We're human beings. That this is part of nature. We're part of nature, and it doesn't mean that we give in to these things. But this guilt aspect, at least, we shouldn't feel that, oh, we're terrible people. That why do we have these ideas and everything? So this is one very important element that we. And then again, even this anger thing, as I was saying, some type of enjoyment will be there in feeling angry. The mind is such a curious thing, that how we can get enjoyment from that, but otherwise we won't let the mind dwell. So anyhow, when the mind dwells on something, so we're not saying go to the root and find out why are you interested in thinking about this. Just stop thinking about it. As I say, counterintuitive. We'll say, well, it's not going to get rid of that hidden desire, but the Gita is saying that eventually you won't allow that to sprout. That, of course, we want to pull the weeds out from the root, but if we can also not allow them to be watered, and they'll also die on their own. So it's a very interesting type of concept that we pay more attention to not allowing the mind to dwell on these things. So this is why Sri Ramakrishna, he puts so much emphasis on hedging the small plant. Right? We plant a little tree, and we have to protect it. We have to protect it so that the cows and the goats don't come and eat it up. So we have to protect ourselves with the company that we keep, with the things that we do, the books that we read, everything like that, the things that we think, all of these things, so that we don't allow these passions that come and destroy everything. There's this very interesting verse. It says, kama. This is addressing this passion, this lust, this desire. Oh, desire, kama. Janami te mulam. I know your root. I know what the source of your root is. Sankalpa tvam hijayase. You were born of Sankalpa. Now, the Sankalpa, this has two meanings. We use Sankalpa at the time of puja. We take a vow to do something. That is a very positive meaning. It has a very negative meaning also. Sankalpa, and this is the main culprit in the time of meditation. When we sit for meditation and we allow the mind to start free association, that one thing leads to another, and that car we're thinking about, that we can go and this way we'll get a loan and we can buy that, and then what we'll do, we'll drive around and we'll show off in front of everybody. One thing leads to another, sankalpa, that we start scheming and planning about things. So it says, I know what is the root of this problem of desire, and he said, because we're allowing the mind to think about these things. It's not really, psychologists will say, it's not really the root of it, but this is the practical way of looking at this, one practical way of looking at it. Then it says, na te sankalpyasami tena na bhavishyasi. I won't allow the mind to do all of this, and then you won't arise to me, you won't cause a problem for me. Addressing desire, lust. He says, oh, karma, I discovered the secret of all of this. That why am I bothered with these things? Because I'm allowing the mind to think about these things. So it's reversing it. It's if we want to root out all of these things, impossible. Because as I say, we're human beings. That the nature will take over. Everybody follows their own nature. Nigraha kim karishati. How much can self-control do? So we simply try to not allow them to raise their head. We try to let them lie quietly and ultimately hope that they'll just die off on their own, these things. And we replace this type of sankalpa with a different, even this lila dhyana, we talk about this all the time. This is also allowing the mind to wander, but in a very positive way. So we have to counteract these things. So this is one way of understanding that very deep-seated samskaras may remain, but let's defang them. Let's take the poison out of them. Let them be remnants of the past. Let them come into the mind and say, I'm glad I don't think like that anymore. This is the old me. See, this is the problem in spiritual life, that we have the part of the mind that's very progressive. Part of the mind is very spiritual, wants nothing but God. Then we have the older mind that is saying to the new mind, I am not going to give up so easily. I like to have my fun. I like my parties. I like all of that. Yeah, don't take that away from me. So there's a battle between the new mind and the old mind. So we have to sometimes just tell the old mind, okay, I'm not you anymore. That you can still be there, but be a little quiet. And this old mind will gradually change. This is the whole thing, if we don't allow it to express itself all the time. So, as I say, different ways to deal with all of these vasanas and samskaras. Now, one thing is that we have to convince the mind that if we sit for meditation, that ultimately the name of God, the thought of God, the feeling, the image of God, all of this will be more enjoyable than letting the mind dwell on these lower types of thoughts. We have to convince the mind of that, because we'll never be able to force the mind to do something that it doesn't think will be enjoyable. That we simply lack that power, concentration of mind. So we have to convince the mind, trust me, that you try this a little bit and you'll see that this is more enjoyable. You get more, you'll wonder why you wasted your time in meditation before. So This is that process of creating a new type of priority, we can say. This is exactly what's meant by an acquired taste. What we have in Bhagavad Gita, again, what is the definition of sattvic happiness? Huh? Sattvic happiness. In the beginning, we don't see what's so wonderful about that. That I want to go out to a party, you want to sit quietly with your eyes closed. What's the joy in that when I can have a good time? Huh? So we have to tell the mind, trust me a little bit. Huh? Trust me a little bit. Just try it. Get a little taste of it. Huh? And we get a little taste of it and we say, oh, okay, there may be something to that. And they said, well, persevere. Try it more and more and more. And so the Gita says that in the beginning, Vishamiva, it's like poison. We don't like the taste at all. At the end, Amrita, it becomes like nectar to us. So we have to create a liking in the mind. And how do we do it? Just to see this repetition of the name of God. Name Ruchi. There's one very beautiful song Thakur sings. I don't remember the words to it exactly, but it says, what is this disease that I have? I have no taste for the name of God. So the power of the name of God, the sweetness, the joy of the name of God is such, at least the sages tell us, the great saints tell us, that the more we repeat that name, the more we'll experience a certain type of joy, and the more that name will convey to us the reality behind it. And we'll feel that oneness. Do you remember, actually, they did a remake of it, but there was an old Broadway show and film, there's West Side Story. Huh? How many people have seen it? Okay. No, but yeah, the movie. And there's a song called Maria, huh? That this young man, there are two different gangs. One is all Puerto Ricans, and the other is all immigrants, mostly Eastern European or Italian immigrants in New York City, West Side, New York City. Two different gangs, and somehow the young man from this, you can say, European gang, that he sees this young woman from the Puerto Rican side, and they see each other, and instantly they have the love at first sight. Huh? Love at first sight. But he doesn't know her name. And then he finds out that he asks around, well, what is her name? They see each other, they dance once or something, and yeah, some magic happens. So he thought her name was Maria. And hearing that name, there's a beautiful song. He just sings, Maria, Maria, and he sings it over and over again. And it says, the most beautiful sound I've ever heard, Maria, Maria. Of course, it means Mother Mary also. That's kind of hidden in all of that. And then it says, sing it loud, and there's music playing. Sing it soft, and it's almost like praying. Maria, Maria, Maria. I'll never stop saying Maria. So a very, very nice way of understanding spiritually, if we can feel that this is the name of the beloved. So there's repetition of the name, and how he almost fell in love with the name, or fell in love with her more when he found out the name. Huh? So, or look at the example, there's an arranged marriage in a village. Huh? This young boy is in one village, young girl in another village, and this young girl, she says, well, who is this boy that I'm marrying? She's never seen him, no photograph, nothing, the old days. Huh? And she doesn't know anything about him. So how does she try to form some image, or that this is a man that I'll spend my life with and everything? And then she finds, his name. Huh? His name is Ramachandra. She says, Ramachandra, and then you repeat the name. And so something comes. So we have to convince the mind that there's a greater type of joy that will come through letting the mind dwell on the spiritual ideal at the time of meditation. Otherwise, fighting the mind doesn't work. So this is the one thing that convinced the mind that what we're trying to tell the mind, no, this is what you want to do, not because you have to do it, but you'll thank me later. This is a process of converting preyas into shreyas, or vice versa. Now we have this conflict. What is the enjoyable thing? What is the right thing to do? Well, ultimately, we'll find out that the right thing is the enjoyable thing. A very little different way of looking at it, that now this will bring us the highest type of joy. So this is one great trick that we can use. We can say that we want to convince the mind that there'll be greater joy. You think there's joy in thinking about this sense enjoyment, there'll be greater pleasure in doing all of this. Now, Sri Ramakrishna, he recommends another thing to do with these samskaras, especially these Darwinian samskaras. There's lust, anger, greed, and all of these things. He said that try to direct them. More Freddie Adao. He says, turn it in the other direction. Twist the head so it goes in the other direction, so that we can convert all of these things from these obstacles and these alligators and sharks into something very, very, very positive. This is actually one of the sutras that we have in the Narada Bhakti Sutra. Exactly that same thing. And so let me read this. Thakur said this to one of the devotees. Anger and lust cannot be destroyed. Okay, so he's very clear. He's very clear. Sri Ramakrishna was very, very practical. He wasn't the type of teacher that would say, no, these things, you have to simply get rid of these things. We'll say, but we're human beings, we're weak people, how can we do that? So he's saying, yes, anger and lust cannot be destroyed. Turn them toward God. So utilize them. This is taking the thorn and removing the other thorn. This is a beautiful technique that Thakur tells us. If you must feel desire and temptation, then desire to realize God. Feel tempted by Him. Discriminate and turn the passions away from worldly objects. When the elephant is about to devour a plantain tree in someone's garden, the mahout strikes it with his iron-tipped goad. So this was one of the great teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. Swami Turiyanandaji, he was just a boy Hari at that time. He came to Sri Ramakrishna. They were mostly late teenagers at that time. And he asked Sri Ramakrishna what to do about lust. It was a common thing for these young boys who came. And how can I be completely free from lust? So Thakur said to him, why should it go, my boy? Give it a turn in another direction. What is lust? It is the desire to get. So desire to get God and strengthen this desire greatly. So this is utilizing these human emotions and passions. If we look at the devotional path, if we look at these different bhavas that we have, that we're utilizing these different attachments. No greater attachment in the world than the attachment of the mother for her child. So Thakur says, yes, but direct it towards God. You can think about God as if God is your very own child. And then that attachment becomes something very positive and helpful. The friendship that a young boy or girl has for another friend, that we don't make friends the way we make friends when we're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. There's a certain type of friendship there. They talk about the cowherd boys, how they're eating from the same plate and jumping on their shoulders and everything. Yeah, that if we can have that feeling, now maybe attachment to our friends that is such that we feel terrible if we're not with them, feel that way. And of course, the greatest is this Madhur Bhava, that that longing that the lover has for the beloved. If we can feel that same type of longing for God, then we can realize God. So increase that type of longing. This is the whole the beauty of this devotional path, utilizing this idea of bhava, attitude, and a relationship, and adopting a particular attitude, arop kora. Thakur uses these terms, arop kora, almost role-playing. Try to feel that you're Hanuman, and try to feel what it would be like to be Hanuman, and have that such a devotion for Sri Rama that you won't do anything with a selfish motive. You won't think of anything but him. Everything you will do will only be to please Rama. Try to superimpose the mindset of Hanuman on yourself. Arop kara. It's a very beautiful idea. So this is that way, the way that we convert all of these negative, so-called negative things, these passions and everything, into something that'll be very, very positive. There was one case where a woman devotee of Sri Ramakrishna came, and they had no children at that time. She was raising a nephew. And she said, I'm so attached to this nephew. I sit for meditation, I only see the face of this nephew, what to do? He said, meditate on your nephew. Only feel that this is Gopala. Feel this is God himself in the form of his nephew. And I think it was Miss Tarani Devi, that they say within a short time, she achieved very high states of bhava and everything through this type of spiritual practice. I want to leave time for questions. I just want to see if there's anything that I haven't really talked about. Yeah, we have all of these very nice things. That one very important thing is that when these things pop up in meditation, treat them as uninvited guests. They showed up, you didn't ask them to come, you don't want them to come, let them leave. Politely. Yeah. Just let them leave, remain. So this is another great technique. When these things come into the mind, disidentify with the mind. Remain as the witness. Just observe them. I mentioned last night this idea that everything that comes into the mind, we can look at as a vritti or condition of the mind. And if we can disidentify with that, then it cuts the power that it has over us, especially anger. Suppose I get angry. Now, who is this I that is getting angry? We have to analyze these things a little bit. We can come to the conclusion that anger is a state of mind, or simply vritti. In vritti, anything that is occupying the mind at the time, it can be a thought, can be a perception, could be an emotion, anything we can understand in terms of some modification of the chitta, of the mind stuff. So we can simply say that I'm observing the mind, this anger, vritti has arisen in the mind, and I don't like it, I don't want it there, and I'll just observe it, and I'll disidentify with it, and I'll say that I am not angry. Mind got angry, I am not angry. Why should I suffer because of that? So this is a very, very helpful way of looking upon these things as not belonging to me, to identify as the witness at that particular time. As I say, we have different attitudes to solve different problems in meditation. At that time, I forget about being a devotee or anything, just I'm the observer, I'm the witness. The witness never gets angry. The witness is never happy, the witness is never sad, just observing. We have the image of the two birds on the tree. The bird at the top of the tree, magnificent, just in his glory, not doing anything, just observing, watching the lower bird jump from branch to branch to branch, not affected. The lower bird eats a bitter fruit, and it's unhappy. Upper bird simply watching, not affected in any possible way. Eats a nice fruit, is very happy. The upper bird, not affected in any possible way. That we have to become like that upper bird, or identify with that upper bird. Then we're not affected so much. One of the great sources of bondage in spiritual life is likes and dislikes. We're very much slaves to the things. We like it, we want to get it. We don't like it, we want to avoid it. And this is one of the great problems in life. If we can just distance ourselves and be the observer. Or the other thing is learn to like everything. That's a great secret. If we want to avoid doing things we don't like, then learn to like to do everything. Huh? Paulina, it's a good idea. Then you'll never do anything you don't like. There's a secret in life. Nobody wants to do things they don't like. So learn to like everything that we have to do. Then we'll never do anything we don't like in life. Anyhow, it's a little beside the point, but this is one of the most brilliant things that I heard many years ago. That's very, very helpful. Learn to like everything. Then we'll never do anything we don't like. You know, they say if you like the work that you do, then you'll never work a day in your life. So it's these are very important types of ideas. Okay, then one last point. Then we'll have some time for questions, and that is that we'll start to understand one of the great benefits of meditation, that some internal transformation is taking place, unknown to us very often, on the samskara level and this character level, and some level that we may have no awareness of at the time. At the same time that we feel we're not making progress in meditation. We may say, I've been meditating all of these years, but still the mind wanders, maybe a little bit less than before, but the mind is still wandering. Then what have I gained in meditation? And we don't realize this transformation that takes place underneath the surface, that we become new people. This is the way we can completely reroute these samskaras. And sometimes we see some people, we hardly recognize how they've changed and how they've become calm, peaceful. So this is a very, very important idea. There was an incident that took place in the life of Mahapurush Maharaj, Swami Shivananda. He was the second president of the Ramakrishna order, Thakur's disciple, of course. That one of his disciples, a monk, came to him and said that I've been leading this spiritual life now for, I don't know how long, 10, 20 years, something like that, and doing my very best in meditation and everything. And I don't feel that I've gained anything from it. But what have I been doing all of these years? A little depressed, he said like that. So Mahapurush Maharaj said to him, look, you're still young. You have an older brother that he didn't become a monk. He's a very good devotee. He got married, he has a family, he has a good job. He seems quite happy. You're young enough, you can do the same thing. You can leave and live like your brother, a good life. So this young monk, he was horrified. He said, Maharaj, what are you saying? I could never give up this life. Thakur is my whole life. This is the only thing that I live for. He went on and on and on. Then Mahapurush Maharaj left. And he said, see, you told me that you haven't gained anything all these years. Look how much you've gained. So we should always try to remain positive and understand that what we gain in the spiritual life and spiritual practice and meditation is not always obvious to us. Yeah, Holy Mother gives the greatest example. She says, suppose you're lying in bed asleep in Calcutta, and while you're sleeping, somebody takes you, they take you the whole cot, they put it on a train, they take you all the way to Benares. When you wake up, will you know that you've been moved? You won't know right away. You think you're still back where you were before, but then you'll look around and say, look where I've come. So this is one of the great benefits of meditation. I'll stop just with one saying that Swami Swananji used to make. I heard him say this many, many times. He said, the real fruit of meditation is bhakti. that we may think that we're meditating year after year in order to increase concentration of mind, but we find what's happened is we've developed this tremendous devotion and love for God, love for the spiritual ideal. So we have to persevere when we see these obstacles in meditation. We have to understand that they're natural. We have to know that there are ways of dealing with it, that we have different techniques, and that we have to be patient, and that we're not going to be able to completely weed out everything, that it's not even necessary. It's not even necessary. We may think that unless the mind is 100% pure, unless we're free from all desires, we can't realize God. Yeah, this is true, but at the same time, we only have to do our part. We'll walk our 10 feet or something, and then God will pull us the rest of the way. So it's true, but that purification will come on its own. We have to just go a certain distance with it. So we should always remain positive and optimistic. Okay, so I will stop here, and if you have some questions, then I'll be happy to try to answer them. Yes.
So yeah, whenever we're like using a mantra, like, I find that there's sort of still a chatter, right? You know, with the mantra is sort of part of it. So how should that like layer of chatter? How should that
Of course, it depends on the nature of the chatter. We've seen so many different things that can come up in the mind. Some things you ignore, some things you deal with, some things you try to figure out. But if we're repeating the mantra with full concentration, now this is a very interesting fact. If we're fully concentrating on the mantra, we'll find it's impossible for the mind to think anything else. That when a thought comes, we find that temporarily we've stopped repeating the mantra, or it's just mechanically going on. But this is if the mind can only think of one thing at a time. We may have layers of it, and there may be some things in the background and everything, but really, so if we really, and if we can do it with devotion, this is the thing. The whole point of all of this is that the mind has to feel a pull. There has to be some joy that we get through the repetition of the mantra. And this is why we combine it with trying to visualize a form also. We visualize a form. These are all different ways of occupying the mind in a positive way so that it doesn't wander too much. So we may fail every time in this visualization, but we find that it's preventing the mind from doing other things. And then, of course, we have this lila dhyana, other ways of expanding this circle so that we let the mind wander a little bit, but not go outside of the realm. So we're meditating on Sri Ramakrishna. We can think of any incident in his life. We can picture him sitting in his room. We can picture him singing, dancing, all of that. It gives the mind a chance to wander a little bit within the circle that we've created, not outside of that circle. If the object of meditation is a very small point, that we're simply trying to fix the mind on something, then the chances of it wandering and going outside of that circle are very good. If it's a bigger circle, we may say, well, the concentration isn't so intense, and we're letting it wander, but we're restricting that wandering. So they give this example, gochara. Gochara, it means that's the cow. Gaucharati, the cow can wander and graze within the area that's defined by the rope that's tied to a post. That whole circle, that's the radius, you can go there, but it won't go beyond that. So sometimes we have to give the mind a little bit of scope, give it some positive chatter if you want, to get rid of negative things. Yeah.
So for yesterday also you brought it up, or sometimes decades, you think, oh, nothing happened. It's easy to get that feeling, but what are the symptoms, the positive symptoms, when actually something is happening? We actually feel it, or others first tell you, oh,
We should feel that we have more patience, we have more kindness, that we're a little bit free from ego and pride and things. We should notice. We notice some transformation that takes place within us. Sometimes other people may not notice. It may work both ways. Sometimes they notice and we don't. Sometimes we notice and they don't. We shouldn't worry too much about what other people think. But we should find that, first of all, our devotion increases. That we have to feel that this love for the ideal, that increases, even if we're just jnanis. We only want to know what is the nature of the self. We don't care about personal God or anything. Still, that longing to feel the joy of the self, that's increasing. So there'll be many, many different types of signs. But just in terms of our dealings with other people, we should find that there's more patience, there's more kindness, there's more compassion, there's more love. We feel one with others. We're less affected by things that people say and do. We care less about what other people think of us. We become more indrawn. There'll be dozens and dozens of ways of seeing that we're making some progress. And on the other hand, we don't want to worry too much about progress. We don't want to always keep saying, oh, am I getting closer? How far am I? There's a tendency of the mind that we should take some joy in spiritual practice and do our spiritual practice as an offering. This is utilizing that doctrine of karma yoga with our spiritual practice. What did Thakur do at the end of his spiritual practice? Worshipping Holy Mother. I take all of the fruits of my sadhana, Mother, I lay it at your feet. So we shouldn't be too concerned about, oh, when will I get this or when will I get that? And just feel it a privilege to do our spiritual practice. Feel it a privilege to call on God. Feel the privilege to be a devotee. And not worry too much about these other signs, but they'll come. We'll see them. Yeah. Then there's a question about. Yeah.
I had a question. Of Hari Maharaj, the advice which Sri Ramakrishna gave, direct the lust towards God, love towards God. Maharaj also, Sri Ramakrishna gave advice, and this I think maybe I'm not remembering correctly, but I think he had given different advice for yogins. That part or like compare that, like basically to.
He said, repeat the name of Hari. Huh?
No, I think.
Oh, it's a different time.
Yeah, I think for yogin, if I remember correctly, I think he said that treat every woman as a mother.
Yeah, that of course. So these things go hand in hand. They're not separate types of things. He will say the same thing to Hari Maharaj. Yeah, this is of course one way, that look upon every woman as your mother. Yeah, this of course will be some very helpful thing. But at the same time, that the feeling of longing for something, yeah, convert that into longing for God. So both are true. We try as monks, we try to do that. You'll see the old sadhu going in front of a little girl with folded hands and calling her Mataji, to look upon every woman as mother. But at the same time, that we also want to have that tremendous longing for God realization. So for what could start out as a feeling of lust, it means that we have some desire for strong desire for something, that we want to have that same type of desire for God realization. So both are true, equally true. And can be practiced by the same person. Yeah, both. Yes.
You were saying how out of some scholars, some memories, etc., come, and then we become involved on the spot about anger or whatever. One of the, I would say, memories that bothers me a lot is about things done but did not.
Regrets.
Especially for parents.
Yeah.
That why didn't I do this? He would have done that.
Yes.
But there's no, it's irreversible.
Yeah.
So, it's just like the same.
Yeah, that we have to be a little kind to ourselves. We have to say, yes, it would have been nice if I could have done it, but at the time I did, that was who I was at the time. I did what I thought was the right thing to do. That maybe I could have done things differently, but now we have to let go. We have to learn to let go of these things. That's all. We can pray for forgiveness if we believe that we've done something. There are different things that we can do, but ultimately we have to just let go. We've all done things in our lives that we regret, or things we know, things that we could have done that we didn't do. And Thakur says, learn from the past. Don't do it again. Don't dwell on the past. He says that the Girish people would say, oh, I'm a sinner, I did this, I did that. He said, don't let the mind dwell on that. Then that'll be your source of identification. You'll become a sinner. You're always thinking about, or somebody, not that the sinner is too strong, but still. He says, just drop it, let it go, and remember what it was, and take a vow to learn from that and not do it again in the future. That's all we can do. We can't change the past. Yeah? So just, if as far as possible, just let it go. Yeah. Okay, so I think now we've come just to exactly 12:30. So we'll stop here. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.